we go. Wild card weekend in the books. Super wild card weekend, as some might call it. Dom, how we feeling?
I feel fantastic now that my season's over.
That's fair. I think, yeah, this was the only option that could make both of us happy this weekend.
Actually, if they would have won, I probably would have been pissed. So
Exactly. That's what I was
let's
saying.
just
This
get
is,
this
I
over
think
with.
this is the only way that we were both happy. All right. Yeah. Fun games. Let's start at the beginning here. Texans Chargers. What?
This was a bit of a shock to a lot of people, just
Yeah.
because the Texans didn't play like this all season. Even like defensively, they didn't show this type of range.
Right.
Maybe that was in part to Justin Herbert potentially playing the worst game he has all season. Threw a couple bad balls, had a couple bad bounces. Just, he can't seem to get it done when it matters, which is going to be a point of conversation all offseason
Well, yeah, even with the Justin Herbert thing, he threw 3 interceptions in the calendar year of 2024. He threw four
in that
on
game.
Saturday. Yeah.
It's just tough.
Tough
You're
break.
not going to expect him to do that.
No, and what's even crazier about that game is like even though it was what 6-0, I think it was, the Chargers did feel like they had at least control of the game, even though they weren't scoring up until that
Yeah.
last drive before the half. And Stroud fumbles the snap, runs around, makes some magic happen, and hits Nico for like 45 yards. And then
Yeah.
it was a completely different team after that.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of just saw it happen over the course. They took all the air out of the lungs of the Chargers and just never gave it back. And the Texans were able to do the one thing that that the Chargers shouldn't have allowed, which is let Joe Mixon get going. And we talked about that last week. You stop Joe Mixon, you kind of take that team away, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, no, it was kind of all over the place with the Chargers. It just kind of got out of hand for them. Like I said, it was after that, like that momentum shift on that big drive, like at the end of the second quarter there. Texans get a quick 3-and-out. They come down and kick a field goal then too, and all of a sudden it goes from 6-0 to 10-6 in a very short amount of time. Kind of put Chargers on their heels there, and then it just got weird. Like the 2 point, yeah, the blocked field goal turning into points
Mm-hmm.
for the Texans. Like, I mean, I don't know what Dicker was doing trying to bat the ball down there. Everything just got weird for the Chargers at that point. It made no sense. Again, Herbert just kind of looked off. And as much as I like Herbert, I mean, this is now, again, smaller sample size, but 2 playoff games, and he's looked really rough in both.
Yeah, I think part of the situation here was that he was force feeding McConkey all night long.
Mm.
And you could see it. You stats show it. You watch the game, it shows it. So part of that is trust in you've trust in one player because Quentin Johnson doesn't know how to hold on to a football.
I don't even think he had a
So
catch.
for the
Did he have any targets in that game?
uh,
I'm double checking that one here.
he had five
No.
targets, no
Oh, he did have
receptions.
5 targets. Okay. I know
So
he didn't
just
have
kind
any
of
catches, but I didn't know if he had any targets either.
yeah, just kind of like the tape shows it there, and then so just kind of like looking ahead, it's obvious that you need to get some more pieces on that offense there, but also
Yeah, they need
apparently
another
you still need
playmaker on
to
the
show
perimeter. And also, I mean,
on there.
that and also, I was just going to say, even the running game, like they just never really committed to it, which is the Greg Roman special, where,
Yeah,
you live off the run game for 16, 17 weeks during the regular season. And then in the biggest games, you just go, let's just not. Let's just
yeah,
not do that. Because, I mean, you look at Dobbins. I mean, the running backs had a total of 18 carries in this game for 50 yards and no scores. So,
definitely a difference maker when you relied on the ground game so heavily, especially early on in the season, and then you just when you need it the most, you kind of move away from it.
yeah. No, again, I mean, I've gone through this how many years now?
Yeah,
I mean, with the news with the Ravens there. And then, I get Harbaugh bringing him on because they did have some success when he was with the Niners. Well, a lot of success, really. I mean, they got to a Super Bowl with him, everything like that.
yeah,
but also a different time in terms of, just what the NFL was at that point. But yeah, no, this game was just weird from start to finish, I felt, but at the same time, good for Houston.
Yeah, I mean, they
Good
definitely get
good
a
for
nice
CJ
little
Stroud, yeah.
bounce back game, which is weird to say as a wild card. And
Right.
then kind of that way they can kind of now push against Chiefs. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to be.
No, I mean
How much of a different team is this?
having to go to Kansas City is a very different thing
Yeah.
than being able to play at home in Houston. Yeah, I mean, again, like you said too, this is the first time Houston's looked like Houston all year. I think this game was more about the Chargers and what they need to do this offseason, more than anything. Because it wasn't just like Herbert had his worst game; it was Joe Alt got worked for the first time
Yeah.
all year. Like that seemed to be his, welcome to the league moment. Finally, after 18 weeks, it was the first time that he kind of looked a little bit more lost too. I mean, granted,
Hmm.
having to deal with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter all game, like, I mean, that is stressful, and like, Houston's done a good job with that, but it was the first time that they were really. It felt like they were really hunting. But yeah, down now, Chargers you need another piece on the perimeter. Maybe if Dobbins doesn't get hurt a month ago, maybe the running game is a little bit different at this point. But I do feel like they even still need to have another option outside of Gus
Yeah.
Edwards.
I mean, just kind of looking at that, like even if Dobbins doesn't get hurt a month ago, your position is probably not that different than where you are. You're probably still the 5 seeds, still going to Houston.
I'm not saying that
Yeah.
the position changes. I just mean in terms of like what a game plan looks like and execution of it.
Yeah,
Because,
I get what you're saying, but
like
still,
him
it's
going
not like
9 for
Dobbins.
26 is not like a
Yeah.
thing that happened often for him.
Yeah, but Dobbins still has been back for what is it now, like 3 weeks? At this point, you feel like he would be acclimated again.
I think like one full week, like one
Still
full
though,
like game action.
yeah, I mean,
Because
still you would
when they brought
expect
him
him to
back, it
be,
was like a pitch count.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I
you would
mean,
expect him
clearly
to be
they were
more.
still, yeah, they were still pitch counting him in a way then. It's either
Hmm.
that or they thought that the passing attack was going to be better, but still, you're still going up against Derek Stingley, who has been a all-pro caliber player this
Oh,
year.
yeah, he's
So
been
you're
fantastic, and he had two picks
just
in that
kind
game,
of, yeah,
and
so
a
you're
pick,
kind of just
including
like,
a pick six.
what are we kind of doing right now?
Yeah, no, I just meant in the sense of like, listen, I love Gus Bus, but when you put him
No,
out on the,
he shouldn't be touching that ball.
I mean, it's not even that. It's just like what's happening when you bring him out on the field. It's your short down stuff,
Yeah.
and you can
Well,
just
it's
pack the box on him.
yeah,
When you're not opening everything else up with Dobbins, or you don't have that extra threat. It's just it changes things a little bit for what's
yeah,
available to you.
yeah, yeah,
Is
for
more
sure.
of what I'm saying with that. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, all right. And now Houston gets to go to the 4:30 slot again on Saturday.
Death taxes 4:30 Houston, just
Yep,
beautiful.
it's
See if
insane.
they can do it again.
Yep, don't have the biggest hope for that, but whatever. We'll get into that later.
We'll get into that in another.
Yeah, we'll deal with that another time. All right. Well, hate week.
Hate week went how we thought it would go. Happily,
Yeah. How I think both of us wanted it to go.
I actually wish it would have went even worse than how it went.
They had a
Like I
chance
said,
still.
yeah, they gave people hope briefly in the second half. I didn't have hope. I just looked at it and giggled, and then the score never changed.
I will say, as a Ravens fan, when I did see it get to, what was it,
It was
21-14?
21. It was 21-0,
It was 21-0.
and then it was 21-7, 28-7, 28-14. Scored and changed.
Yeah, but once it got to two scores going into the fourth, there
Yeah,
was that little part of me that was just like, man, I've seen this before. And then, it got down to, 5-6 minutes left, and I'm like, okay, now we can breathe. But there was a little bit of that. But aside from that, I feel much better about Lamar at this point. I'm just gonna say that because that's the bigger story, I think, with this
yeah,
is Lamar in the playoffs, Lamar against the Steelers. That's been a thing. It's now two straight games against the Steelers. I feel much better about this Ravens team now. I picked them against the Bills. But before I get too bullish on, hey, we're here, we're back, I do need Lamar to play great again.
Yeah, but we'll talk about this upcoming weekend in
Yeah,
a later segment. We'll get into
but
all of that before you go on a little rant there about it.
that's true. Yeah. But that was my big thing there on that game. And then outside of that, it's again, this one's about the losing team, I think, more than the winning team.
Yeah, yeah, let me talk.
Yeah, you go ahead and I will jump in and give also my 2 cents.
So this is a team that started out 10-3, lost four straight games to end the season. They had potential to win at least two of those games, and I'm saying at least they probably could even win three. The only game that they really felt like they couldn't have won was Kansas City. What that kind of boils down to is coaching. It really does. It's not like they didn't have the players on the field that are productive enough and can do anything. It's they didn't know how to scheme. You have guys that are making $20+ million on that defense, and you don't know how to scheme them properly. Like, what are we doing? It's a whole different segment here.
I mean, this is basically what this game was about is Steelers going forward.
Yeah, yeah. It just kind of shows you that at the end of the day, they still can't win in the playoffs. That's 8 straight seasons without a playoff win, and it just kind of brings to question, what are we doing? We all knew it was going to happen too. It's not like this was a shock to anyone. You knew they weren't going to win this game. 8:30 Saturday night, the time slot they lose the most in. So I knew it wasn't going to happen. And then once the game started and they were getting dogged on the run game, which is supposed to be what they're best at, I knew it was over. I knew the game was over. You can't stop the run. You're going to lose this game. Make Lamar pass when he's down his best weapon. You have a chance, but you didn't do that. So you're going to lose. What I need to see is change pretty quick. I'm not even going to talk about the offense side of the ball yet. Terrell Austin just should not be the defensive coordinator ever again for this organization. I don't care where he goes. It just should not be on the sideline next year. You need to bring in somebody outside. I don't care if it's an intermediate job for somebody like Robert Saleh. I don't care who it is. It needs to be somebody who knows what they're doing. And Tomlin needs to take a step back, get his hands off of the play calling, get his hands off of the scheme, just something, because we need to actually have new ideas, new personnel running it back there. Because Minka Fitzpatrick, these last 2 seasons where Terrell Austin has really been the face, has looked miles behind what he used to look like. He's not making plays. He's basically just roaming back there, and nobody's even thinking twice. So you got to scheme him into situations to make those plays, and you're not doing that. You're not really getting creative on that back end. Your secondary is terrible. You don't know how to appropriately rush the passer. You're not moving pieces around. You have depth at the edge position, and you're not utilizing it. It's just annoying. And then going forward, you don't know who the quarterback is. Your wide receivers are terrible. George Pickens is a problem. He showed up 2 hours before game time to the Chiefs. Of course you look like ass. Just like shocking. Shocking. So he's probably getting traded. So now you don't have a receiver going in the next season. You're not re-signing Russ at this point. He looked like a bottom 3 quarterback in the NFL down the stretch. And that's a problem if you're a playoff team. In fact, the best part of your offense was your offensive line, which is also not good.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. You need a new offensive line coach to teach these young, raw, talented guys. Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick looked amazing this year, and that's our interior. But we have 2 young tackles who look lost when they're playing. I mean, granted, Fatanu was hurt the entire season.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can come back next year. And when he did play, he looked okay. He didn't look bad. So hopefully he can come in and make a difference. I need change at the end of the day. You also don't know who's running the ball out the backfield. And this is also what, like, Are we gonna stick with Matt? Oh, not Matt Canada. Holy shit, man! I'm
Oh wow, you're all out
heated.
of sorts now. Arthur Smith.
Yeah, are we
I mean,
sticking
he's
with
got
Arthur
two
Smith?
interviews in the next 2 days here,
Yeah, but realistically, is he really gonna get a head coaching job? I
probably.
hope so. I hope he does. If the
It's
Jets
entirely
hired him, I'd
possible.
be elated. I'd be
Yeah, yeah.
just
Let him
because
fail there.
I want to restart so badly with both of our coordinators and a lot of the personnel on this team. If you're gonna keep Tomlin, that's where we need to go. That's it. You need to have that talk. Period.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that from a not from a Steeler hater perspective, but just in terms of like what makes sense, I do think it is time to part ways
Yeah,
with
you've
Tomlin.
talked about
And
that.
I've been on this one yet. It's just like offer him up because also his value is going to go down at this point
Yeah, yeah,
because of where the state of the franchise is in terms of roster construction, in terms of everything they've done. His value is going to go down. Right now is when you can still move him and get a first round pick for him plus. If you trade him
oh
to
for sure.
The Bears would be happy. The Jaguars, like you think of the teams, like, and it benefits both sides on this for sure.
I,
You
I'm
allow
100% in agreement.
because Tomlin gets a fresh start somewhere else, and I want to be very clear on this. Tomlin is firmly, in my opinion, a top five coach in this league. I think he is at worst the fifth best coach and at best the third best coach in this league. There are few coaches in this league that have the resume that he has. And on top of that, the one thing that is huge with Tomlin and because he is such a good coach, it has hurt the Steelers because they've never been able to bottom out.
Hmm.
Now they
And
got
get a
stuck
new
with
restart.
yeah, they haven't been able to bottom out. You're stuck in this purgatory right now of where you're not bad enough to be able to really take a shot at a top tier quarterback in a draft class, but you're also not good enough to actually compete in the playoff.
Yeah, you'll get there, but you can't do shit.
You
It's
can get
just
there because
yeah,
Tomlin is good enough to get you there with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at quarterback and I don't know, the 10th best receiver in this league as your number one
yeah.
and the 10th best running back.
I think you might be being a little kind, but sure.
I think I am at this point, but even still, I mean, we can go through even just in the AFC running backs and top running backs and top receivers that are better than Pickens and Harris. I mean, we could even go on the fucking rabbit hole of tight ends. I love Freiermuth. I think the Ravens have two better tight ends than the Steelers do.
There's a chance.
I
Definitely a
think there's a
chance.
fair argument that you can say that Andrews and Likely are better than Freiermuth.
Yeah,
I think you
definitely.
can, at the very least, make the argument, which
Oh,
is
for sure.
not
I'm not
great.
saying you can't. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
especially with
also
the tight
like
end you just extended.
right, and then you brought out the O line, and that was the best looking thing toward like down the stretch. But at the same time, like yeah, you can crush Tomlin. Like that's a real criticism that he's not been able to get the O line right in however long it's been now. But at the same time, find me the defensive head coach that has been able to figure that out. Sean McDermott hasn't been able to do that. He just lucked out with Josh Allen that the O line doesn't matter as much to him.
Yeah, what they really need to do with the O line is bring in a proper offensive line coach because Pat Meyer is not doing it.
I don't,
It's bad.
I don't even think it's just that. I think it's having an offensive head coach. Look at McVay, look at Reed, look at Shanahan up until this past year and a half, really.
Shanahan's
McVay
always
was
struggled with offensive line, it seems,
That's true, but he's also been very open about the fact that I'm going to take a position player, like skill positions over O line.
which
He'll
is
take a
not
flyer.
necessarily the best
A great
idea, but
idea. No, I agree with that, but like he also is able to scheme it so that it works at the same time too. That's just the offensive thing. But Sean McVay was able to rebuild an offensive line in an offseason. The Chiefs get bullied by the Bucks in a Super Bowl because they have a horrible offensive line and they were hurt. Like the next year, it was like a top three O line
And it has been since
A
then.
unit graded by PFF, and has
Yeah.
been since then. Exactly. Defensive head coaches don't understand it. They know their side of the ball. They don't understand the importance of the O line and how much that helps your quarterback. On top of that, Tomlin got for what 5 years actual good Ben Roethlisberger, and that was the stat that they threw up on even on week 18
What,
was
like
okay. Tomlin's first
13
five
to
years,
18?
and then since then, like his playoff record, everything like that. I mean, you can see that's about where the cliff
So
started
are
to
we
happen.
talking about for the 5 good years of Ben of statistic wise, or 5 good years of Ben of production wise? Production being wins and like actually what you get out of
I think
it. Because
so.
if
It's
we're
a little
talking
bit weird
production,
because
it's
like
13 to
he
18.
get okay. So Tomlin took over what in 2010,
No,
2009,
2008, because they won the Super
eight,
Bowl in
nine.
2008. So I think it was
It was
2007.
2007. Okay, so
Same year as Harbaugh. They both got hired the same year.
Harbaugh was the year after.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, Harbaugh was the year after. But okay, so it was like the first 5 years he had a good the good playoff record, everything
2007.
like that. So basically, it was like once Ben turned 30, kind of thing, roughly, because he was drafted what 04. First 5 years ish, or
See,
what
but
was it,
Ben,
3 to 5 years with Cowher, and then after that,
yeah,
I'm just defending Tomlin on this. It's just like okay,
yeah,
yes, he did have Ben for that first 5 years, really, of like still Ben at the peak of his powers.
yeah,
But Ben also played a style of football that the drop Cam Newton, same thing. Cam Newton hit the wall and it fell apart. Ben is of that same mold. He didn't take care of himself. He beat himself up on a football field. He played himself into shape.
yeah,
It's not like he didn't
yeah.
he wasn't sustainable. He might have played for what was it, 18 years or whatever it was, way too fucking long.
Longer than
Also,
he should have.
longer than he should have, at
Yeah,
the very least, and much longer than what his actual prime was. And then on top of that, also chokeholded the
the organization.
organization in terms of trying to find a succession plan, much like Aaron Rodgers tried to do with the Packers. And the Packers finally said, you know what? Fuck you. We're taking Jordan Love. And it's worked out for them mostly.
Yeah,
I just think that like by the end of it, and like, you can go, well, he didn't know how to manage personality. He clearly knew how to manage personalities
yeah.
because
That's to me
Antonio
nobody's
Brown,
argument.
I've heard that argument. That's the only
Antonio
reason I'm bringing that
Brown,
up.
Le'Veon
Antonio
Bell.
Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell got to the point. Was like, okay, cool, go find somewhere else play, and his career fell apart. Antonio Brown, they let him walk, and his career fell apart. Like they know what
Go
they're
to
doing.
Juju.
Tomlin
Go to
knows
Deontay.
how
It's
to
just
keep everything in house and make everything work and still be a productive football team. But at the same time, none of this. It stopped being a productive or a beneficial situation for him.
yeah.
Like
I think
nobody wants to say it, but it is the Steelers in the last 10 years is so similar to the Bears for the last now 40.
please don't say that. I don't. I
It
don't want to
is.
be there. I know. I don't want to be there. That's
Unfortunately,
fine.
it is. You're holding on to old school. We're tough. It's defensive focused. Like the Steelers are bragging that we're only paying our quarterback room $6 million. Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not going to
bad.
work in this NFL. You're so beholden to the NFL. Like your offense's payroll is one of the cheapest in the league, if not the cheapest. But
Yeah,
your defensive payroll is the highest paid defense in the league. Like,
by far.
yeah, you're the Bears hanging on to the 85 season at this point.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think there needs to be a lot of change. I mean, regardless, you're going to see a lot of change on the offensive side of the ball. That is guaranteed happening.
It's
Period.
going to happen, but that's my thing. Is just like
But what
you're
really
doing
needs
this
to change
again.
is across the entire thing. I know.
Yeah.
Trust me. I know. I get it. I'm the one living it.
No, I know.
It's
It
happening.
is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just frustrating
And it's
because
going. Yeah, it's
I
frustrating.
don't want
Trust me.
Tomlin's legacy to get watered down at this point because he is such a good fucking coach. I
Yeah,
would take
yes,
him
he's
in
a
Baltimore. The Jags would take him in a fucking heartbeat.
just here's the issue though. Yes,
Chicago.
he's a fantastic coach. However, at this point, he is too stuck in his own way. He won't get out of it. He won't
Yeah,
let somebody else take over play calling, take over defensive play. He won't just do that. Yes,
that's fair.
they will call the plays and whatnot. However, he has his hand in those cookie jars constantly. If he were to take a step off of that, which I hope happens this offseason, and let things progress the way it was supposed to, maybe we'll see
Hmm.
some change with him still at the helm. But if not, because he's not leaving, the organization's already
No.
said we're doubling down, we're not trading him, it's
Yeah.
not happening. He's
Which
come
is
out and he's said
unfortunate.
that.
Yeah, no,
It is
it does
unfortunate,
suck.
but it is what it is. It's tough to trade a Hall of Fame coach.
It
It's
is.
tough.
It
If
is.
Andy
It
Reid
gives
wasn't a
me
Hall of Fame coach when he got fired,
well,
and
but at the
that's
same
like
time,
the
though, but
difference.
like
Tomlin at this point is that.
he might no. Andy Reid was not a Hall of Fame coach at that moment. However, it wasn't like the discourse around Andy Reid at that time when he got let go by the Eagles was still very similar. It was just like great coach, great offensive mind, just can't get over the hump. And right now,
Yeah, yeah.
Tomlin, even with the Super Bowl, people talk about him like unbelievable culture builder, unbelievable defensive mind, just can't get everything together to go on a run.
Yeah.
But
I
also,
mean, I
and the
hope.
thing is with him right now is just like so many people are giving him the benefit of the doubt, which I think rightfully so, because the
Yeah,
quarterback situation has been dog shit for 7 years.
exactly.
Like it's yes, I think it was John Metalcoff I was listening to that pointed out like I don't. He said that he doesn't blame Tomlin for not wanting to leave because being the head coach of the Steelers has to be pretty fucking awesome. Like it's got to be a pretty sweet gig, but at the same time, like you're slowly getting into getting washed away with everything else at this point.
No, I complete agreement, 100%. Unfortunately, this is a conversation that's going to get tabled for a fifth, sixth, seventh time until next season.
Yeah.
Until we do it again. He signed. So I've heard this argument, and it makes sense. And it's because Rooney's signed him. I think it's like $16 million he's making a year. It's
Mhm.
guaranteed money. They are not going to fire him for him to go somewhere else, and they're not going to trade him because they're not going to bring in a better coach than he is. It's just simple as that. You're not
Yeah,
going to
I
do
mean,
it.
I think
I
if they
think in
were
2
able to
years,
do it, the thought process is okay. You trade Tomlin to honestly, I think the best fit is the Bears, but okay, you go Bears,
it doesn't. Yeah,
Jags,
it doesn't matter
whichever
where he
one.
goes.
But then you have to bring in an offensive mind because I think of the positions that could be available in this scenario, including the Steelers in that open positions, Ben Johnson would be the one.
Ben Johnson wouldn't come here. He's not gonna. Yeah, like
But
you just
okay,
have to admit that.
if he's willing to go to the Raiders, I'm sure he'd be willing to go to the Steelers because you're going to give him organizational stability. They're not
Yeah,
going to move off of him. If they sign him to a 4-year deal, he's getting 4 years.
yeah. He's
You
gonna
know what
get
I
four
mean?
years.
Like you're gonna be able to go through the growing pains as
Yeah,
a
for
Steelers
sure.
head coach, kind of thing.
But
Is
it's
where
also
I'm
like
going with that.
it's just tough because he had. I mean, maybe he would want a fresh landscape for the offense. Maybe that's something he'd be interested
Yeah,
in
no,
to build his
I
own
think you just
offense.
need a whole cultural shift in that organization.
Yeah, I think we're just talking a whole lot of what ifs at this point for
We
the
are,
last
but
20
we're
minutes.
also at the same time like it's also relevant to what's going on with the Steelers. You know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
it definitely is. It's just I can't I can't do it anymore.
That's
We got to
fair.
move
It just
on. We
it
got to move
wildly
on.
frustrates me as to, and
It
again,
wildly frustrates me.
I want the Steelers to just be the punching bag for me, but at the same time, it's more fun when the Steelers and Ravens are both good, like actually good teams. So I
Yeah,
want it to
yeah,
happen. I want the stress.
it did happen for a short period of
Kind
time.
of. Kind of. But whatever. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to the Bills Broncos.
Yeah, thank God. The rest of these games aren't
Yeah, we're gonna get through this quick. That
as
we knew that
difficult.
was gonna be the long
Yeah.
one there.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about in this game. Broncos came out slinging the ball. You're like,
Yeah.
maybe there's a chance, and then they didn't do shit the rest of the game. The Bills
Yeah.
stomped them out defensively, and Josh Allen stomped them out on offense.
I think I texted you the little eye emoji
Yeah,
after
you
the
did.
Bo
You
Nix
did
bomb.
right after that, and there was
And I was just
nothing
like,
after
"Ooh,
that.
what's going on?" And then the Bills proceeded to put up 31 unanswered points.
And just easily, it wasn't much of it. And that's the best defense in the league, and they made them look silly.
Yeah. I
It was
will
just
say this is a very conflicting argument that I have about the Bills because it's just going into the next game kind of thing. Literally everything, like Josh Allen runs that engine.
he does. Well, here it is. And this is my
Are you
only
gonna?
argument for why Josh Allen will win MVP and not.
That's where the controversy comes into play there.
Josh Allen was the only player on his team to be named first or second team All Pro. Lamar had how many? 9 other All Pro players on his team.
6
Is that first and second?
combined. That was combined. Yeah, there were
Combined?
6 All
Okay.
Pros
6
on the
others.
Ravens roster.
Okay. So one, he's the only one. MVP is if you take Lamar out of Baltimore and input a different quarterback, I still think they're probably a playoff team. If you take Josh Allen out of Buffalo, they're the worst team in the NFL.
Okay, flip flop them spots. I think they're probably similar teams
I
to
disagree.
what each of those teams.
I disagree. If you put Josh
Are we doing
Allen
MVP?
in
Are we doing
Baltimore-
MVP talk now? All right.
I'm just saying,
let's
if
go
you
this
put
one.
Josh Allen in
Let's go
Baltimore,
this one.
that might be the best team in the NFL.
Stop it. Stop it. That's what I'm going to say there is stop.
I'm just saying.
Because, okay,
I'm
we
just
did this
saying.
before. We did this before, and I don't know if you said it on here or if it was just in our text where, you put up the final numbers up between Josh Allen and Lamar, and you hit me with but he played less quarters.
He played
Yeah, guess
way
what?
less quarters.
Okay, cool. And guess who finished with more pass attempts this season?
Go ahead.
Lamar had 10 less pass attempps still than Josh Allen. In
That
terms of
also goes
passing
to
numbers,
how the offenses are run.
yes, but at the same time, I'm going to do the Derrick Henry argument here, which is Derrick Henry, the last 2 years, had fading numbers. Consistently fading numbers. He comes to his last year in Tennessee, I think he averaged right around 70 yards per game. He comes to Baltimore, he averages 115. That is Lamar, the 44-yard run against the Steelers. How many people jumped at Lamar because he delayed that read?
I'm not saying anything. I was just saying.
I'm just saying that. Those are the arguments that I'm going to make for Lamar on this one. And I don't want to be the homer banging my chest for it here. However, at the same time,
there is an argument to all sides of this.
There is. Like, this is a very close one.
It's going to be very close.
Mm.
The people who take All Pro to heart are already betting that it's Lamar.
Well, I mean, the odds shifted. Like, DraftKings took it off after that then, too. Everything got shifted. Like, after the All-Pro results came out, Lamar shifted from plus, like, 350-ish, 350, 400, depending on where you were getting it, to minus, like, 200, and Josh Allen went from, like, minus 300 to, like, plus 200, I think. Like, the odds did end up shifting.
Then
Lamar is now the favorite for it, but yeah.
I'm not a betting man. I don't know what's going to happen. There's just arguments to be made on both sides. It's just where did the voters lie?
That's the thing is when that came through, it was because it's the same voters that do, or it's mostly, it's like 90% the same voters that do All Pro do MVP as well. And Lamar had 30 All Pro votes.
Yeah, it was like 30 to 18.
It was like 30, 18, and then 2. I think Joe Burrow got 2.
Yeah.
For first team.
It wasn't.
So it's like 60 voters or whatever it is. So it looks like that could be a thing, but at the same time, AP could just go, I mean, we're just going to throw Josh Allen one here and make sure he gets it. But so with that being said, the Bills looked great, but also
they looked very good.
Wildly Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So That's where we're going with that one. And again, good for the Broncos. Just again, shout out Sean Payton, shout out
You
Bo
guys made
Nix,
it.
shout out
Yeah.
Pat Surtain. Cool moment before the game with Pat Surtain during warmups, give the ball to a kid, and props to the Bills fan who just went, "That's fucking cool."
Yeah.
In that video, like
Yeah.
direct quote, he was like, "That's fucking awesome, dude. Good for you."
Well, and that's
Again,
just like
because
a
Bills
prompt.
fans
Like
are just nice guys.
they're the best.
They're
They are the best
psychos,
fan base,
absolute psychos.
but they're
But
kind. They're not mean
yes,
to
they
you.
are kind. They are kind.
And then
I
if
have
you
nothing
look
bad to say.
at like the Philly fan base, which we're about to get into that game, they are the worst of the worst. The true Philly fan base is, I don't know if you saw that video pop up over
I
the
did see
weekend,
that one. I did see that one.
and that was bad.
That was
He
not
did
great.
get banned for life.
Yes. I did see Barstool RTD Baltimore guy put a picture up of that guy, and the Baltimore douchebag who was fighting Commanders fans was just like, let's just throw these guys in a room and see what happens. And I was like, can we? Good for him. He also lost his job to this Eagles guy.
Yeah.
He did
Well,
get fired.
that's what the internet
Good.
does.
Damn straight. It's, good for Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter.
Yeah, it is. So yeah,
Uh,
I guess we'll just get into that game then, because there's not a whole lot left to talk about in Buffalo. They did the
no.
job. They got it done
Yeah.
in fashion. All right, Philly, Green Bay. This was interesting one for not a hot minute, just like a small minute. It was interesting. And then the Packers officially lost every single one of their wide receivers by like halftime, and it was no longer interesting, and Philly dominated them in the second half. Pretty
Not
handedly.
really, though, because that game was, what, 16-10? I don't know. This one was weird for me because I kind of looked at it and go,
I guess, but it was never like that close. Like, yes, it was close score, but the game did not feel close ever.
yeah, but I feel like I don't know how you feel confident about the Eagles
Hurts.
going forward. Just
I'm
in
not
general.
saying you do. I'm not saying you necessarily do.
I mean, the
Because
Packers
it was a
spotted
little
you
shaky,
4 turnovers in that game.
and you only
And
won by
again,
12. Yeah,
Again,
I
it
get
was
that.
16-10 in the fourth quarter of that game. Jalen Hurts didn't look great. You can make the argument, oh, well, he was a little rusty after the concussion. Not on the first drive. He looked good on the first drive. And then it just went to shit after that. Your
Yeah,
scripted
I don't
stuff,
know.
your
I don't know
scripted
if
stuff
that's
on the
about
first
play
drive
calling.
looked good, but then after that, it was just weird after that. I don't know. This game confused me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts was 13 to 21, 131 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, but
I think
I
once they kind
mean,
of got ahead, they just like sat down and just kind of did
yeah,
whatever.
but it's also not like
I'm
they
not
ran
agreeing with you.
for well over 200 yards in this game. They ran for a
Yeah,
buck 69 as a team.
and what was that? 119? Yeah, it came from Saquon.
Yeah, he had 119 yards, but it just felt like in a game like that where you go, okay, yeah, it was low scoring, okay, probably, uh, okay, the Ravens rushed for 299 yards on Saturday night.
I
And
don't
you're
want to talk
telling
about it.
me for the Eagles ran for a buck 30 less in a game that they had 4 turnovers? Or they
Yeah.
4 takeaways? I mean, I don't know. They could bounce back. I don't love it. I just want to say, I'll be on the record. I don't love
Yeah.
this game.
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting game coming up again. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But right
But
now, they got the job done. They did what they were supposed to do, and that's really all you can ask at the end of the day of your
yeah,
team.
this game was a weird, felt
The
like
defense,
nothing. Just
yeah,
felt
the
like a
defense
nothing
did their
game.
job. You knew kind of what was going to happen. It happened. Maybe that was part of their plan. I really
Yeah,
don't.
Jordan Love banged up, Christian Watson done, and then they lost everybody else. They lost like 4 stars. But that goes back to my Eagles thing where it's just like, okay, they lost several starters in that game. Like the Packers were running out of third string fucking left tackle at one point.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. Yeah, they
Yeah,
probably should have won by a lot more.
it shouldn't have been. Basically, my argument is it shouldn't have been a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. There shouldn't have been a reason for Saquon to run for a first down and just fall down
Yeah,
and give himself up to run out the clock is what I mean.
yeah. Yeah, no, I
They
get what you're
shouldn't have
saying.
been in that position.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
Let's get
and
to
then
probably what was the most exciting game of the weekend.
easily the most fun game.
Surprisingly, the most exciting game. I mean, it went how I thought it would go,
The only thing
but
surprising
it
about
didn't.
this game, yeah, I was gonna say it went exactly how we felt, but at the same time, roughly 5 points less than we thought were going to be scored in this game.
Yeah, yeah. But Jaden Daniels still looked like the hero. I mean,
Yeah,
the
unbelievable.
kid
I
is
mean,
just
it's the
unbelievable.
cardiac commanders all year here.
Yeah.
What, the
I mean,
sixth game that they wanted the gun?
he's been everything you want him to be and then some. And honestly, he's not even using his legs like you would expect him to, which is
Mm,
even more impressive. And when he needs to use them, he uses them, and he gives you that much more type of
yeah.
offense, which
No,
is
I mean
impressive.
they're a really fun team. Really fun team.
Unfortunately, they got a bad draw. Let's keep talking about Tampa Bay on the other side of the ball. That
I don't know. I don't know if you saw this too. Commanders, first team, I think, in playoff history. No turnovers, no sacks, no punts
I did see that. I did,
in a
which
playoff
is
game.
not the first time
Wild.
they've done that this year, which is even more
True.
wild.
I mean, that's
They have been a
also
very
they've been going for it on fourth down a lot. There were a couple
yeah,
turnovers on downs, but no
but there was no
picks or fumbles.
turnovers. Good for
Technical.
them,
Yeah, right.
technically.
But yeah,
But
Bucks
yeah,
again. I mean, look good. Again,
they
this was
fought their heart out.
yeah. I think I said this to you before this game. I felt like this was a game that I don't think either one of these teams would have felt bad after a loss.
No,
The
it's a
Bucks, I
good
think,
game.
in the moment you go, "Damn, this sucks," but at the same time you're like, "Cool."
We made the
I
playoffs.
mean, we kind of overachieved a little bit, and Baker played
Yeah,
his probably the best year he's had of his career. And even in that game,
yeah,
15 to 18, I mean, not big yardage, but 15 of 18, two touchdowns.
yeah.
I think Bucky Irving is that guy. Is the biggest thing with the Bucks is you got a real running back down there.
Oh yeah, which is crazy because you already had a running back there who had a great season last year.
Yeah,
So it's just like you predicted him having a big fall off and then just moving the ball.
no, just a fun game. I will say that Zane Gonzalez field goal had me fooled about four different times.
It was a weird one, man. It was
It
definitely
came
a
off
weird
his
one.
foot, and I was like, "That's good." And then I went, "That's gonna miss wide right." And then I was like, "No, that's gonna sneak in there." And then I went, and then it hit the post, and I was just like, "Oh my god, he just missed that." But then it went through, and I was just like, "What the fuck just happened? What was this kick?" I don't really understand what just happened here, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was a fun one.
It was a fun game.
Yeah,
Happy with the result. We'll see what goes on next. And
again,
let's
I
get
think the
into
Commanders are scrappy enough to give the Lions a little bit of a run.
maybe.
Just
We'll
keep
see.
it interesting more than anything.
We'll
And
talk about
then
it.
Monday night,
Just the brutalist beatdown in Arizona. That it was just unbelievable. There was no offense in the game. It was just defense after defense after. The Rams sacked Sam Darnold 9 times.
yeah,
9 times.
yeah,
They were just having fun out there at the end of that
yeah.
game. And I'm not even in the middle of the game.
They sacked Sam Darnold so many times that I think there's three different groups of people to blame for that at this point.
Sam, the offensive line, and the coaching.
Yes, and Kevin O'Connell for that play calling.
Yeah. It's
But
just
I
like
mean, at
at
some
what
point in
point
time,
do
you
you
got to
just
go.
not make an adjustment?
The fact that they just let it happen, and it was like the O line just being a turnstile. Sam Darnold, get rid of the football, take the easy one.
Well, I
Kevin
think
O'Connell, run the damn ball at some point.
one thing that happened early on in the game, and they didn't really talk about this, or I just wasn't listening that well. I believe it was Brian O'Neill, their right tackle, went out early in the game,
Hmm.
and he's been like their stable tackle for the last 8 years.
Yeah,
He was a pit guy. He was unbelievable there. Drafted to the Vikings, and he's just excelled where he's been. And
right.
again, I could be wrong on who it was. They didn't really show it, but looked like Brian O'Neill. He went out of the game early. I don't know if he ever came back. I missed that.
Yeah,
But if he never came back, that's kind of a big issue there. The front seven for the Rams just kind of made it their lunch and went to town.
yeah. which
And that was the biggest difference of the game. Sam Darnold didn't have enough time in the pocket to even breathe, let alone find a read.
I was
So
just going to say that's where I wanted to start most of this Rams talk is that defense.
it was that was the best game they've played all year,
I mean,
which is needed.
but they've played well for a month. In the last month of the year, do you know how many points per game they were giving up?
What, with like 14 and a half?
3. They did not give up double digits in the last month of the year.
Wow, good for them.
Last 4 games, they did not give up double digits a single time.
Good for them. Proud.
This defense, again, this is what we talked about before the season, what I had been hammering throughout the season, why I kept putting them in there and kept propping them up, is this is a young defense that keeps getting better,
Yeah,
and they've really hit a stride.
The defense
That front
has
seven
really
is insane.
excelled.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only just the front seven, like, this game really gave them their flowers because they put Sam Darnold through hell. The secondary has been phenomenal
Mm-hmm.
since October at this point. Like, they've been one of the best units in the league since October. This is why I love this team. Sean McVay saying in week 18, because the offense was kind of, struggling to end the year there. They weren't putting up a lot of points, but they just weren't giving up any either. Him saying, I would rather, not even rather, but like, I trust this team. I have enough faith in this team, no matter who we play going into the playoffs, as long as they're fresh, versus, let's try to keep a hold of the 3 seed. Shows you how he feels about this team, I feel. And you saw that on the first drive. I texted you immediately. It was the first pass of the game. Stafford to Higbee there. Threw an absolute fucking dot for, I think it was only like 12 yards or something like that. But he had a linebacker all over him, and Stafford put it the only place that Higbee could have caught this ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, he's on one already, and it didn't change. Like, this team is scary. I don't think anybody wants to play the Rams. I don't think the Eagles love that they're coming there, even as the 6-point favorite. I think they're scared. Like, this team is a real football team.
We're gonna get into that game.
We are gonna get into that game, but I'm just going through this right now. I am, and I'm doubling down on it because after watching this game, even though you and I both felt the same way about this,
they looked, out of the entire weekend, I'll say this, out of the entire weekend, they probably looked like the second best team I saw.
Yeah. I think
behind Buffalo, they looked like the second best team.
I was just going to say Buffalo, Baltimore, and the Rams, those 3 teams, those were your real winners of the week.
Yeah, I saw what I needed to see.
I think they separated from the rest of the pack that's still available.
Yeah.
To an extent.
From wild card weekend, those 3.
Yeah. I think there's 5 teams that can make a real run.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that was my thing there.
Yeah. We'll see now. Kind of plays out next week. We'll get into that and kind of talk about our thoughts going in the matchups.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what difference is going to happen because we got a lot of interesting matchups, to say the least.
Yeah.
And the tables are kind of falling the way they need to for us to really get tested here. So I'm ready for those games to kind of come to fruition finally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely exciting.
I am very much into this. Do we want to get into the coaching news of this week?
Yeah, we'll touch on it briefly. Mike Vrabel was officially hired as the New England Patriots head coach. That was the most expected and anticipated thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I was shocked. But I think he's going to be a really good fit there, bring in a good OC, and I think that team's going to be off and running in the next 2 to 3 years again, which I hate. I hate it.
I hate it less now because I like Vrabel more than I like Belichick.
Yeah, I like May a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm older now. I'm not a stubborn young child who just was born to hate Tom Brady.
Right.
I'm older now. I'm born to hate other people.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. We're on the same page there. Now, I will say, even with that, I mean, the second that win totals come out next year, I will be hammering the over on the Patriots. I'm just going to get ahead of that now.
They'll probably be the second best team in that division, if I had to guess, depending on
100%. I think a good draft
If you
with
add a
combined
pass
with
catcher,
you add a
I
pass
think I'm
catcher,
more
you add
sold.
a little bit of help on the O line. I mean, a fourth round running back.
I don't even know if you
Hell,
really need a
hell, if
running
they,
back.
I,
You have they signed Stevenson to a longer deal. You're probably committed,
yeah,
but it's a new
maybe
guy,
not.
so maybe not. It doesn't
Probably
really
not. That's
matter.
what I'm saying. It's like even if they would go get like Najee in free agency,
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
I think that
I'd like that
especially with the 7 teams, I think that's a team that can compete for a playoff spot.
potentially.
I would think about that.
Like it, but
I
it could
would
happen.
think about betting them to make the playoffs.
We'll see. We'll see. Off season's
But
coming up. Got 2 months. 2 months until then.
this is true. This is true. But regardless, love the hire. I mean, I was
The
going to love
yeah
any team that hired Vrabel,
yeah. It just happened
regardless.
to be the one that was
Happened to be the
most
Patriots.
anticipated.
Well, yeah, it was weirdly. I mean, that happened quick though, because I don't
Quick,
think
very quick. Within a
we weren't
week. Yeah.
expecting. Yeah, we weren't expecting that to be an available position.
They knew. They knew
But
that's what
then,
it
yeah,
was.
we said about that was like the second they hired Mayo, it was weird. But like, you don't make that move unless you know you're going to get Vrabel.
Yeah. So it just they were like, let's just do this. I mean, they hired
Yeah,
Gerard Mayo quickly last year. It was like
right.
bang bang.
Well, but again, that was 5 years in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's a good organization. Like they know what they're doing. So I love the hire. I think it's going to be great for Drake May. I think it's going to be great for that organization. I think they're just not going to be. I think it's bad for Miami and New York.
The Jets. Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
Jets are just in purgatory,
I
and
mean,
we're
yeah, the
not going to
Jets are
talk about
always
them.
just bad, but like the second that the Dolphins like had a chance to like make noise, then
Yeah.
Tua gets hurt this year, and then they miss the playoffs. And now the
Because
Patriots have a direction again.
we'll see. I
Sorry.
mean, there's a long off season. A lot still needs to play out for me to officially like them better than Miami because I do. I like Miami a
Oh, I can
lot.
tell you right now, I already do.
I
I
know you do.
already like them more
You
than
also
Miami.
hate Miami.
I don't hate Miami.
You kind of hate Miami.
I love Jalen Waddle. I like Tyreek Hill a lot. But he also doesn't want to be there either. So, like,
No, they're fine now. They're fine. They talked. They're good. He's gonna stay.
allegedly. I mean, he already said
Allegedly.
he's out. The Ravens are the favorite to land him, actually, at this point. I don't know how
He's
they do
not.
it
He's
financially,
probably
but,
not
like,
getting traded. He's probably not getting traded. He's probably just gonna stay in Miami
if they start
because
4-4 next year, do you think he's on that team? Or or 3-4 on next year? Do you think he's on that team?
we'll see.
Yeah, no,
You know
he's
how
out the
hard
door.
it is
He's
to trade.
gone.
Well, let's look at the facts here. You know how hard it is to trade a wide receiver mid-season and then be somewhat capable of doing something. I mean, look at all the wide receivers that got traded mid-season this year.
No, I
Out of
understand
all
that.
of those wide receivers, how many were actually a component of that offense?
Tyreek Hill,
D-Hop to the
Tyreek Hill, you're
Kansas
tied to
City,
1 year. You're tied to half a season. There's no money after this year for him, as far as
it's
I know, on his contract.
probably for the best.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So there's that. So
We'll see.
I think it's bad for Miami and the Jets. It's good for the Patriots. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then the other coaching news: Mike McCarthy officially out in Dallas. I don't know why you don't do this a week earlier.
For funsies.
Honestly, on both sides of
So
this.
from what I hear, they were trying to work something out. They never got the numbers. He's
Yeah,
probably going to
but
Chicago.
at the same time, how do you draw it out an extra week when you lose out on Mike Vrabel from the Cowboys side? You lose out on Mike Vrabel. You lose out on other interviews because
Yeah.
you after Black Monday, like you can't request to interview Ben Johnson or any of these top OCs or DCs
Yeah.
or
I
any of these
think
coaching staffs.
so. From what I've
And
seen,
from McCarthy, you lose out on the Patriots job. You had all year. You had all year to talk about numbers. He was on
you
a.
know how
It was
Jared.
the last year.
Let's just cut it how it is. You know how
Well,
Jerry
I
is,
understand that.
and that's just how it's gonna go.
This is
Now
just
looking
another feather in
forward,
the cap of like they have no idea what they're doing.
yeah, they look like they want to hire a DC, like a defensive guy, just kind of based on who they're bringing in already. Just a lot of defensive-minded coaches, like Salah's getting interviewed there,
I
as well
did
as a
see
couple
that.
others.
I don't
So
hate the Salah thing, but at the same time, they're also interviewing Deion Sanders and Jason Witten.
there's no way Dion is gonna go. Let's just call it what it is. Because Dion said he's
Same
only going to
time,
go.
at the same time, I think Dion is the only one that could actually do something. I think he's
I don't know.
weirdly enough, I feel like he's the one person that they could hire that would actually make some differences in Dallas.
I just don't love it. I just don't love Dion as a head coach. Period. Especially in the NFL.
I mean, he has done a good job at Colorado. Again, you and I have both been very critical of him because he's Dion. But at the same time, I mean, Colorado was a joke 2 years ago. It was
Well, now
they were
they're a different
basically
kind of joke.
they're a louder joke, but
Yeah,
they also won.
Is that a good thing?
I mean, they had a chance to win the Big 12 this year. They had a chance to be Arizona State. Let's just say that.
Sure, but at the end
They
of
were
the
knocking
day,
on the door of it, but
yeah. At the end
he
of the
did
day, it
that.
doesn't
But
really
what I'm saying
matter.
is he did that in 2 years. So like I'll give him credit for that.
He did
As a
that in
coach.
2 years because of his name. He was able to bring guys in
Yeah, but
because
he did make some smart hires too, like in terms of the coaching
yeah,
staff. He's got Pat Shermer doing the offense. Fucking who's his D line?
Sapp.
Thank you. Blanked on that, but like it's not like he's just messing around there, really. Like he
No,
has
I'm
done
not
a
saying
lot.
he is. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I don't think he's necessarily going to be a great head coach in the NFL. We've seen it before. We've seen college head coaches go from
No, I
college
agree
to
with
the
that.
NFL, and it doesn't work out because he's not even the best head coach in college by far. There's many guys I would rather hire.
Well, Jim Harbaugh wasn't the best coach in college football when he came to the NFL.
No, not necessarily. But I'm saying like even to that transition, I'm saying from college to the NFL, he's not the guy I would list in the top 5 even.
I think because of the experience and his personality even there, I think it could translate. And
I think it would be
why I say specifically with Dallas is I think he's the one person that Jerry would concede some power to.
sure. I think it would be hilarious because
Oh,
I
it'd
think
be
Dallas would
awesome.
be. I think that.
I don't think that. I don't think they would bottom out with him. I really
I'm
don't.
not saying they're going to bottom out. I think they're going to be just bad. Like not great, but bad. Not good, bad.
I could
Not
see
not
first
awful,
year
but
being.
bad. Like 6-11.
I see now. I would say that was like basement floor on that. I would see them more as a 9-win team. I that's where I would lean on that.
There's already too many issues in Dallas right now. I don't think adding Dion as head coach is going to save that.
I think he just adds some juice to it, and I think he's a likable
Does it?
guy. I think he adds some
Because
juice,
I don't think him and Micah are even going to get along. And Micah's your best player on that team.
I feel like they would though because Micah likes the spotlight. Dion knows how to play to that.
I think the idea is there, but I think personality wise is not.
Yeah, I think you and I have very different. Yeah, we're gonna disagree on this, and who knows? It's
Yeah,
probably not gonna happen anyway.
there's no
I mean, just a nothing
there's no
conversation
path
anyway. But
where we come to an agreement here. It's just
yeah,
I don't think he's going to be a good NFL coach anywhere, even in Dallas.
I think he would
I
have
always
to
have
do.
thought.
I think he would have to start in Dallas.
I think his only path in to start in the NFL is Dallas because Jerry's the only idiot that would take a shot at it. I agree there.
Fair
No
enough.
other
Fair enough. I
team
would.
in the NFL will do it at this moment. Maybe if goes to Colorado, like stays in Colorado, gets not his son at quarterback, and has more under his belt.
It
and
shows you
and actually
something. It
does
shows you something. That's
Yeah,
fair.
actually show me something without dragging these guys along.
Because
Give me
I
something
do
new.
think because I think I look at it as like I think he's too big for college football.
But he's not.
You know what I mean?
But he's not good enough a coach for the NFL.
But I think he would do better in the NFL with that. Because he is clearly much more of a culture builder, program builder kind of thing.
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't call him a culture builder because he walked into Colorado and he told guys to pack their bags. That
That's
doesn't
what
make
I'm
me wanna
saying.
play for
But that's
you,
what I
though.
mean.
That doesn't
No,
make
I
me wanna
understand
play.
that. I understand that. But I think that like he's doing that because he knows, like, his experience with football has been played in the NFL for however long it was. And at the same time I was playing in the NFL, I was also playing baseball. Like,
Yeah,
I think
yeah, that's awesome.
his
But
perception of what athletes are and should be is different, which is why I say that, like, if you got him in the NFL, a lot of that, just his verbiage would change. And also, like, I think it would just, it fits him better. And he's able,
I,
again,
I
even with
think,
all of that, like, he's made Colorado in 2 years a conference championship contender.
but
Again,
also
the weaker of the Power Five conferences, but, like, still,
I
they
think
won
if you're
one
gonna,
game the year before he showed up there.
yeah, and just agree. We're just gonna agree to disagree. If you're gonna do it, start him small, bring him in as a defensive coordinator. Let me see that. Let me see how he works well with other big guys, because it's
But
not like he
that's what
is
I'm
the
saying.
biggest
I
guy.
think that's how you set him up to fail. Is I don't think he's the schematic guy. I think he's much closer to the mold of a Dan Campbell, a Mike Tomlin, a
But they all
Jim
succeeded
Harbaugh.
as defensive. They all did that. They all had that success. That's
Yeah,
where they did the low level. They made their way up. They showed that they can do it. They were never
I'll give you
big
that.
names. They
Yeah, but
proved
it's different.
themselves.
It's
It's
different
not
when you get.
different. It's
It
not.
is a
It's
little
not.
bit.
No, it's not. Mike Tomlin played in the NFL. Dan Campbell played in the NFL. They did their jobs, but they
Yeah,
weren't big
none
names.
of them were Deion Sanders.
Well,
What was
exactly.
what was Mike Tomlin's nickname? What was Dan Campbell's nickname? What was Mike Vrabel's nickname?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, Mike Vrabel, I mean, I don't know what his nickname was, but he had a very good NFL career,
He had a
and
solid NFL career, and then he
he
went to.
came up and he didn't go right to a head coach. He went through the
Yeah,
ladder.
but he also got hired from a position coach, not a coordinator position. Do you get what I'm saying there? Is it's like there's some people that are better as, like, if Dion was a DB coach at the
I
college
do. I get
level
what you're
and then
saying.
got a job, that's different. But I don't think you can go from, especially at this point, okay, he's a head coach in college, even if it, okay, remove Colorado from it, if he's still at Jackson State, and then go, oh, the Cowboys, yeah, we're going to bring him on as a DB coach. I don't think that works.
No, no, in that light, it probably doesn't. But it would be like the same idea. He had very good success at Jackson State. He did. I'll give him that. He was very good there. He hasn't been that in Colorado. I think he's too loud. I think it's a lot to these kids because it's higher stakes, especially at this point with everything.
That's what I'm saying. He's too big for Colorado.
But I also don't think that his personality will flow well in the NFL with these NFL players. That's what I'm saying. And other big name coaches that he
Okay,
would have
well,
to
go
work
back
with.
to when he was working on NFL Network. Everybody loved him.
That's different. That's so
Yeah,
much
but it's different. But when he's in the room with you, and it's just like you have to respect him. Like, if you're gonna tell me, like, I don't
But
see the world where him and Micah
you're not
Parsons
telling guys
butt
what
heads.
to do every day.
Yeah, but I don't
You can
know.
work well.
That's what I'm saying.
We're
It's like
just
I don't
we're
see
just
how
never gonna
Micah
agree
Parsons
with
is
this.
gonna butt heads with somebody that he goes, oh, that's one of the best players that's ever done it.
You can say that and then work with that person, and it doesn't pan out the same way. It doesn't correlate. That's not a one for one. You can respect somebody and still not get along with them.
I hate this conversation so much,
So do I, because we are
but I'm
never
having
going to see eye to
so
eye.
much fun right now. I am enjoying this.
We've talked about
This
Dion
is
for
so
10
much fun.
minutes now.
We went so long on Tomlin and so long on Dion.
It's a half an hour on
So much
bullshit.
fun. I couldn't be happier that we did this.
I'm glad that we've stopped this conversation before it got even worse.
I couldn't go any further. I started to laugh actually because yeah, we're just never gonna get there. I'm so happy.
And that's okay. I hope that we never have to have this conversation again.
Yeah, we
We'll
will.
see in a week. We'll see in a week what's going to happen.
Tomorrow, I'm just gonna throw something in there just to piss you off.
Don't do it. All right, guys.
Do we want to do Drew Allen?
We're not like, yeah, let's just, maybe tomorrow.
Bang the drum on that one there. All right,
Maybe
let's get
tomorrow.
out of here.
Yeah,
that
let's
was
get
a
outta
fun
here.
end, man.
All right. Tomorrow, guys, we're going to talk about next week. And
We got
just
divisional
kind of
round.
talk about a few other things that we probably didn't get to today that I wanted to because we talked about Dion for way too long. Have a
Yeah,
nice
we'll have some
one,
fun.
and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.